So getting into Wuthering Heights, we're going to be done with the book soon. I actually got a few options to list off of possible books we read next. Tell me what you think of these. Moby Dick, The Souls of Black Folk, Wizard of Oz, Siddhartha, Count of Monte Cristo, Agnes Grey. Someone brought that up the other day. Agnes Grey is the book of Anne Bronte, who is Emily Bronte's younger sister. The House Behind the Cedars, and The Bell Jar. I heard recently that, younger people are talking more about Sylvia Plath, and I find that to be interesting. Thank you. These are my opera gloves that I use to read with. Because I have very sweaty hands, and it means that I ruin some of my books. So let's fix the problem in the most extra way possible. That's my solution. Okay. If any of those sound interesting to you, do let me know. Oh, the Sylvia Plath thing. I think that reveals how bleak the situation is for youth right now, that they are talking about Sylvia Plath a lot. I meant sweet gloves, but accidentally spelled it sweat gloves. I understood that and was like, well, just so you know, you aren't wrong. See, you knew what was happening. There was synergy. I shouldn't be saying words like that. Anyway, in the previous chapter of Wuthering Heights, Mr. Lockwood is back to being the narrator, so Nellie, or Mrs. Dean, she's done with retelling the history of Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange and their inhabitants, and the current residents especially. So Mr. Lockwood was able to see these interactions between the characters with more of a clear-eyed perspective because he understands their history. And he went to announce to Heathcliff that he doesn't want to stay there anymore as the tenant. And Heathcliff is like, oh, so you don't want to be a castaway or banished from society anymore? Because Mr. Lockwood is an upper class, uppity kind of person. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't want to be there anymore because he does not understand the culture. He's like, all of you are toxic, which they kind of are, but also he is toxic as well. And he is just constantly causing problems. Anyway, this is him continuing to narrate. 1802. This September, I was invited to devastate the moors of a friend. Devastate? What does that mean? Is this like a legal term for something? Devastate definitions. What? To bring to ruin or desolation by violent action. To reduce to chaos, disorder, or helplessness. Synonyms of devastate: destroy, overrun, eradicate. So, okay. I thought that was going to be more of a legal term with the way it was used. I was invited to devastate the moors of a friend in the north, and on my journey to his abode, I unexpectedly came within... Oh, whoops, I'm reading in my voice, and the voice I've been doing for him is different. Let me think. Okay. This September, I was invited to devastate the moors of a friend in the north, and on my journey to his abode, I unexpectedly came within 15 miles of Gimmerton. The hostler at a roadside public house was holding a pail of water to refresh my horse, when a cart of very green oats, newly reaped, passed by, and he remarked, "Yon's fro Gimmerton, na? They're allus 3 wick after other folk with her harvest." Gimmerton? I repeated. My residence in that locality had already grown dim and dreamy. "Ah, I know. How far is it from this?" "Happen 14 mile o'er the hills, and a rough road," he answered. A sudden impulse seized me to visit Thrushcross Grange. So this is after he had been gone from Wuthering Heights. He is happening to pass by. So we aren't sure exactly how much time has gone by. Okay. It was scarcely noon, and I conceived that I might as well pass the night under my own roof as an inn. Besides, I could spare a day easily to arrange matters with my landlord, and thus save myself the trouble of invading the neighborhood again. Having rested a while, so this is while he's still paying out the lease for it, so he technically still has access to the property, but he's not living there. But he's wanting to stay there for the night. Having rested a while, I directed my servant to inquire the way to the village, and with great fatigue to our beasts, we managed the distance in some 3 hours. I left him there, and proceeded down the valley alone. The grey church looked greyer, and the lonely churchyard lonelier. I distinguished a moor sheep cropping in the short turf on the graves. It was sweet, warm weather, too warm for travelling, but the heat did not hinder me from enjoying the delightful scenery above and below. Had I seen it nearer August, I'm sure it would have tempted me to waste a month among its solitudes. If I can turn the page. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna have to remove one of the gloves. God, I cannot imagine paying for somewhere I'm not living. I know. This is class. This is upper class shit. Where he's like, "This is my winter home, and I'm going to go to the summer home in the summer." That's like, shut up. What kind of life is that? Some of us can barely afford to be existing just where we are. Why are you taking up all this property? Sir? Excuse me. Some of us would like to know. Inquiring minds and all that. Okay. Oh wait, I took it off and I didn't even turn the page. Oh no! Why did I do that? I was just getting too caught up in the bit. Okay. Oh, and I did it with the glove. Alright. Chaos. In winter, nothing more dreary, in summer, nothing more divine than those glens shut in by hills, and those bluff, bold swells of heath. I reached the Grange before sunset, and knocked for admittance, but the family had retreated into the back premises. I judged by one thin blue wreath curling from the kitchen chimney, and they did not hear. I rode into the court. Under the porch, a girl of 9 or 10 sat knitting, and an old woman reclined on the horse steps, smoking a meditative pipe. "Is Mrs. Dean within?" I demanded of the dame. "Mistress Dean? Nay, she answered. Shoe doesn't abide. Shoe doesn't bide here. Shoe's up at the Heights. Are you the housekeeper, then? I continued. Yeah, I keep the house, she replied. This is me interpreting how the vernacular is written. This isn't me doing an offensive accent intentionally. Just to put that out there. Well, I'm Mr. Lockwood, the master. Are there any rooms to lodge me in, I wonder? I wish to stay here all night. To maester? She cried in astonishment. What? Whoever knew ya were coming? Ya should ha send word. They's note norther dry nor mensful about de place. Now it there isn't. Okay, we have a footnote. Mensful is decent. Okay. She threw down her pipe and bustled in. The girl followed, and I entered too, soon perceiving that her report was true, and, moreover, that I had almost upset her wits by my unwelcome apparition. I bid her be composed. I would go out for a walk, and meantime she must try to prepare a corner of a sitting-room for me to sup in, and a bedroom to sleep in. No sweeping and dusting, only good fires and dry sheets were necessary. She seemed willing to do her best, though she thrust the hearth-brush into the grate in mistake for the poker, and malappropriated several other articles of her craft. But I retired, confiding in her energy for a resting place against my return. It's like she's nervous because she didn't know her boss was coming, and now all of a sudden he's there expecting things to be ready. I bid her be composed. Yeah. It's like, okay, you dumbass. Like, stop being so classist. But that's why I have him talk in the voice that I do. That's me imposing the class in there. Okay. Wuthering Heights was the goal of my proposed excursion. An afterthought brought me back, when I had quitted the court. All well at the Heights? I inquired of the woman. For out now, she answered, scurrying away with a pan of hot cinders. I'm not sure what that was supposed to mean. With reading that vernacular, sometimes it's easier for me to understand what it says after I've heard myself speak it, because it's supposed to be like imitating a sound. For out now, she says, yes, for all I know. I would have asked why Mrs. Dean had deserted the Grange. Of course, Nellie didn't want to she didn't want to stay at Thrushcross Grange. She wanted to get out of there and be at Wuthering Heights to be with Catherine. Like Mad Gab. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And it is, to my public humiliation, trying it out for the internet to see. This is the price I pay to be reading the literature. A heavy burden. Okay. I would have asked why Mrs. Dean had deserted the Grange, but it was impossible to delay her at such a crisis. So I turned away and made my exit, rambling leisurely along, the glow of a sinking sun behind, and the mild glory of a rising moon in front, one fading and the other brightening as I quitted the park, and climbed the stony by-road branching off to Mr. Heathcliff's dwelling. Before I arrived in sight of it, all that remained of day was a beamless amber light along the west, but I could see every pebble on the path and every blade of grass by that splendid moon. I mean, for being an asshat, Mr. Lockwood does have more of a poetic way of speaking. I'll give him that. That's just credit to Emily Bronte. I had neither to climb the gate nor to knock. It yielded to my hand. That is an improvement, I thought, because you keep trying to go in places where you weren't wanted, you dumbass. And I noticed another by the aid of my nostrils, a fragrance of stocks and wallflowers wafted on the air from amongst the homely fruit trees. Both doors and lattices were open, and yet, as is usually the case in a coal district, a fine red fire illumined the chimney. The comfort which the eye derives from it renders the extra heat endurable. But the house of Wuthering Heights is so large that the inmates have plenty of space for withdrawing out of its influence. The inmates saying that language is intentional, saying that they're like prisoners. They're prisoners of the oppressive structures of society. And accordingly, what inmates there were had stationed themselves not far from one of the windows. I could both see them and hear them talk before I entered. Okay, creepy. And looked and listened in consequence, being moved thereto by a mingled sense of curiosity and envy that grew as I lingered. You decided to leave. Okay. Anyway. Contrary, said a voice as sweet as a silver bell. That for the third time, you dunce. I'm not going to tell you again. Recollect, or I pull your hair. Contrary, then, answered another in deep but softened tones. And now kiss me for minding so well. This is Catherine and Hareton, it seems. Just the cousin incestuousness really is a major theme in Gothic fiction, which is concerning. I need to still do research as to why that was so prevalent. What was going on in society at the time to make it so incest was a very common theme in art? Okay. No, read it over first correctly, without a single mistake. So it seems that Catherine and Hareton are fraternizing romantically, potentially. The male speaker began to read. He was a young man, respectably dressed, and seated at a table, having a book before him. His handsome features glowed with pleasure, and his eyes kept impatiently wandering from the page to a small white hand over his shoulder, which recalled him by a smart slap on the cheek whenever its owner detected such signs of inattention. Its owner stood behind, her light, shining ringlets blending at intervals with his brown locks, as she bent to superintend his studies. And her face, it was lucky he could not see her face, or he never would have been so steady. I could, and I bit my lip in spite at having thrown away the chance I might have had of doing something besides staring at its smiting beauty. So now Mr. Lockwood is upset that he missed his chance with Catherine because he sees that she's very beautiful. And it seems like they are getting along despite her being an asshole to Hareton, that she's showing some affection towards him, teaching him how to read. Just recreating the same situation of Heathcliff and Catherine. We see this intergenerational trauma being passed down through these love affairs. Okay. The task was done, not free from further blunders, but the pupil claimed a reward and received at least 5 kisses, which, however, he generously returned. Okay, so they're involved. Then they came to the door, and from their conversation, I judged they were about to issue out and have a walk on the moors. But the main difference here is that even though there is this supposed class difference that isn't real, it's just been imposed by Heathcliff on Hareton, that Juniper. Oh, I hear her meowing. Dini, come here. What was I saying? But they are in more of an equal type of status in class than the late Catherine and Heathcliff, or older Heathcliff. Hi, Bug. Hi. Okay. Um, Then they came to the door, and from their conversation, I judged they were about to issue out and have a walk on the moors. I supposed I should be condemned in Hareton Earnshaw's heart, if not by his mouth, to the lowest pit in the infernal regions, if I showed my unfortunate person in his neighborhood then. And feeling very mean and malignant, I skulked round to seek refuge in the kitchen. There was unobstructed admittance on that side also, and at the door sat my old friend Nellie Dean, sewing and singing a song, which was often interrupted from within by harsh words of scorn and intolerance, uttered in far from musical accents. I'd rather by the half have 'em swearing in my lungs, fro morning till night, hearken ya howsoever, said the tenant of the kitchen, in answer to an unheard speech of Nellie's. It's a blazing shame. I'll just keep going. A walk on the moors. What's moors in this instance? Oh, that's a great question. So the moors in this part of England, in Yorkshire, they're like these rolling hills where there's a lot of heath, heather, and so it's pretty rocky and foggy. It is just a type of topography in the area. It's a good question. I cannot open to blessed book, but ya set up them glories to Satan and all the flaysome wickedness that ever were born into world. You're a right now't, as shoes another, and that poor lad'll be lost atween ye. Poor lad, he added with a groan. He's witched, I'm sartin on it. Oh, Lord judge 'em, for they's norther law nor justice among wer rulers. So he's thinking Hareton is bewitched by Catherine because she was studying this book of witchcraft. Like where Luke secluded himself in Star Wars. Kinda. Kinda. Maybe not as hilly. I love that reference. No, or we should be sitting in flaming faggots, I suppose. That means like a bundle of sticks, like that you're burning. This is what Nellie is saying, not the slur. But wisht, old man, and read your Bible like a Christian, and never mind me. This is Fairy Annie's wedding. A bonny tune, it goes to a dance. Mrs. Dean was about to recommence when I advanced, and recognizing me directly, she jumped to her feet, crying, Why, bless you, Mr. Lockwood! How could you think of returning in this way? All's shut up at Thrushcross Grange. You should have given us notice. I've arranged to be accommodated there, for as long as I shall stay, I answered. I depart again tomorrow. And how are you transplanted here, Mrs. Dean? Tell me that. Zillah left, and Mr. Heathcliff wished me to come soon, after you went to London, and stay till you returned. But step in, pray. Have you walked from Gimmerton this evening? From the Grange, I replied. And while they make me lodging room there, I want to finish my business with your master, because I don't think of having another opportunity in a hurry. What business, sir? Said Nellie, conducting me into the house. He's gone out at present, and won't return soon. About the rent, I answered. Oh, then it is with Mrs. Heathcliff you must settle, she observed. Or rather, with me. She has not learnt to manage her affairs yet, and I act for her. There's nobody else. I'm allowing your comment. He didn't walk, he had a fucking horse. Goddamn, these MFers taking credit for the horse walking now, too. True. True. Yeah, but this is typical upper class behavior where he was like, oh, I labored. It was so hard for me. I did so much work. That's like, no, you didn't. You literally were riding on the back of something else doing the work. So, okay. So we also see that Nellie is having more of a managerial role, which is arguably an elevation in her class, having more responsibility and ownership of the duties of what it means to run the household without actually owning the property. Big distinction. Still. Okay. I looked surprised. Ah, you have not heard of Heathcliff's death, I see, she continued. So I guess he died. Heathcliff dead? I exclaimed, astonished. How long ago? 3 months since. But sit down and let me take your hat, and I'll tell you about it. Stop, you have had nothing to eat, have you? I want nothing. I have ordered supper at home. You sit down too. I never dreamt of his dying. Let me hear how it came to pass. You say you don't expect them back for some time, the young people? No, I have to scold them every evening for their late rambles, but they don't care for me. So we see that now they're able to actually have a more fulfilling life together once their oppressor is gone. That his death led to Catherine being more empowered, quite literally, with having ownership of the estate. At least have a drink of our old ale. It will do you good. You seem weary. She hastened to fetch it before I could refuse, and I heard Joseph asking whether it weren't a crying scandal that she should have fellies at her time of life, and then get them jocks out of de maister's cellar. He fair shamed to bide still and see it. Another footnote. Stalled of, meaning tired of. Oh, wait, no. He said jocks. I was reading a different footnote. Jocks is variously suggested as jugs or provisions. So getting alcohol is what it sounds like. They go on walks together, and they're alone, unchaperoned with alcohol. Uh-oh, this is what freedom does. That's nice for them, though. Okay. She did not stay to retaliate, but re-entered in a minute, bearing a reaming silver pint, whose contents I lauded with becoming earnestness. And afterwards she furnished me with the sequel of Heathcliff's history. He had a queer end. Same. Obviously. As she expressed it. Having fellas. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm gonna have to end it there, but we will finish chapter 18. All right. Tomorrow, I'm going to finish the courses so the course that I started today, and then the last one, and then go over Culture Corner. Talk about things in culture that I'm excited about, things that I'll rant about. If there's anything that you're excited about, then share it with me. You can always join the Discord, drop it in the chat, drop it in one of those channels, or just join tomorrow and provide suggestions if you're interested. Heathcliff. Yeah, R.I.P. Heathcliff. Yeah. I really wish in this latest adaptation of the movie that they had cast a person of color, that they could have done some interesting commentaries on race and class and societal structures that are oppressive, but instead it just was this kind of juvenile, Eurocentric, sadomasochist fever dream, but the sadomasochism didn't reveal these larger constructs of non-consensual domination and oppression that are more interesting, that were being imposed by society. That's my hot take. Anyway. I'll talk more about culture. I have a rant about Bridgerton that I'll probably do tomorrow. But anyway, thanks for being here. It was good chatting with you. I will see you tomorrow. I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.